a couple of different topics. The main one is going to be marriage and the importance of it and what God expects in a marriage. So we had a great guest speaker come to our church this weekend, and so that's what we're going to be talking about. I also have some updates on the animals, but once some people get in here, I'll start going over what I learned last night in our Stronger Marriage workshop that our church had. And then we went actually it was 2 years ago. Trey and Leah Morgan, they're from Texas, I believe. He goes around all over the world. I need to find his schedule, actually, and I can share it. That way, if they come to a church near you, you can go and watch them. It's amazing. They do different marriage help. And so, anyways, good morning, Christian Bates. Good morning, Single Man. Good morning, Grant McIntosh. How are y'all doing? So today, my topic is, going to be over marriage. I'm going to wait a little bit, let people get in here before I really go over it, and just the importance of it. And then I was also listening to like a TED Talk yesterday morning, and so a lot of what they said and what I heard at the marriage workshop was very the same. Hey, Bubba, don't play your guitar. It's too loud. Go over there. That's my son. Sorry, he is 2. So I am so glad that you guys joined in. I have a lot to discuss today. Grant, did you ever get your package in? I haven't. I've been looking for the video. I sent it out. Hopefully you got that by now. I don't know. It was really weird. They were like, our little post office was kind of weird about it, but I got it sent out. So I'd like to know if you got that. I've been following you, trying to see if you got okay, so yes, video tomorrow. And sorry, I think I mailed it out like a week later. I had, my grandfather had a stroke, and so I had it in my car, and I kept meaning to go to the post office, and we were in and out of the hospital with him, so I was like, oh my goodness, I've got to get this mailed out to those winners. So congratulations, yes, to Grant and to, I think it was Utter Chaos. They were the other winners. So yes, I do remember you, Pam. So I'm so glad that you came in. And I hope you liked it, Grant. And that was from this year. I actually have a video about making that actual jelly. I've got it edited, but I haven't got the thumbnail. I might post it tomorrow too, so that'd be kind of funny. But yes, I hope you enjoy it. The jelly turned out a lot better than I expected. So I did not get your notification. That's weird. I don't know what it is. My YouTube and because he was tired of it going like ding, 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 ding. So I may have to go back in and like fix that. So how is the audio? I know you may hear a little background noise with my son. He is watching TV in the next room, and he's playing his little guitar, and so sometimes he gets loud. So if that gets a little bit too much, I can always adjust the audio. But anyways, I have 6 people in here, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm so glad you guys stopped in. So what I'm going to talk about is a marriage workshop that me and my husband went to 2 years ago, and then we went to last night. And it is Trey and Leah Morgan. They're out of Texas, and they go around and do these better marriage workshops. So it's not like people that are struggling in their marriage and need marriage counseling. It is people that are married and want to make their marriage more Christian-based, or they want to make sure they keep God in their family. How do they raise children that are going to be godly? What is it, baby? Are you thirsty? Come here. You want Mama to hold you? Say hello. Say hello. I just woke up. Anyways, but it's a really good workshop. It actually took it took me a little convincing to get my husband to go to it the first time, because he was like, our marriage is fine, which it is. We've been almost married 10 years. We have 2 wonderful children. And he was like, I don't want to go to marriage counseling. We did that before we got married. And I was like, baby, this is not marriage counseling. This is, a whole bunch of other married people. They said brand new married or engaged, even dating, all the way to been married 60 years. And I mean, there were couples there that had been married 68 years. So we had even the elders in our church come. And they just talked about ways to maintain your marriage and why it's important to, keep dating. No matter how long you've been married for, just don't give up on your marriage and don't let it go stale. And a lot of that kind of hit home for me, because I see so many times in our, in my daily life, that people are getting divorced, or people are not getting married. They're just like living together and having children together, and that's not really starting a family. A family is when you're married. You have, in my belief, a husband and a wife and your children, and you raise them in a godly manner, and you don't see that very much anymore. Yeah, and I mean, my husband's actually fishing today, so. But yeah, people just kind of like jump from one to the next, and they don't really stay with one person. And so I really think that's important. They also, and then on my TED Talk I heard the morning before I went to the marriage counseling, was saying that the view in marriage rate is based on economic value. And so men that are like white collar or lower don't get married as often anymore, because they're afraid they can't support a family. And then the women that are more educated are more likely to get married. Now, I haven't looked up the data. That's just what the TED Talk was telling me about. I said women that are less educated, have high school, or even men that have high school, are less likely to get married, and people that are educated are more likely to get married. And it's based on that economic stance. Well, then they even came around and said, yes, that is somewhat true, but if you look more at the church, the people that go to church, then yes. But if you look at like men that go to church, people that are less educated are sometimes more likely to not go to church, if that makes sense. And so you have that white collar and the people that barely graduate high school that in the past had a strong Christian background with their family, and now they're more likely to not go to church. And so they're not finding wives in the church. They're finding wives outside of the church, and therefore, even if they went to church as a child, they're more likely to not really go to church as an adult. And so they said there was more of a correlation between religion, and it doesn't matter like what church you go to. It's just saying having spiritual beliefs, because the church believes a man and woman should be married and start a family, or worldly believes that it doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you want. So, Searching Sabrina, good morning. How are you doing? I'm trying to add a few people as moderators, because I don't have any. I've just started doing this. Okay, you should be a moderator now. I think, Grant, I made you one as well. But I really think that, that's kind of a big, I believe more in the spiritual versus the financial, just because. Do you want a bottle, baby? There's one in the living room. Let me drop him over. Come here. Go get your bottle. And then come back. Because even in my own experience with kids at school, I asked them, why are you dating the person that you're dating? Whenever I was dating in high school, me and my husband were dating because we were trying to find someone to marry. We were trying to find someone that had common beliefs and that we could marry. That was the whole reason of dating. We didn't date very many people. And then nowadays, the kids are just dating who they think is popular, who they think are good looking. They don't really care about their personality. And so I was like, But what about marriage? And they don't really plan on getting married. Sorry. And so,
Mama.
I don't know. I think that I don't know why people are not getting married anymore, but I think it's important that, and I don't care what religion you are. I'm not gonna sit on a soapbox and say one religion is better than the other, but I do think that there are some good things that come with following what the Bible says about religion and about marriage. Just because it's telling you should be with one man or one woman, and you shouldn't just be going around with a whole bunch of other people, and that's going to create a solid family. If you have, like, I see kids all the time that they don't ever care to get married, and so they have multiple children with multiple men, and then they say, oh, they don't ever help with their kid. Well, if they weren't invested with you and planning to have kids with you, why are they going to be invested in the children? And so for a person to be able to find a partner that is invested with them, that's going to go for the long haul, then you're going to have a stronger family unit there. And then the kids are going to be raised together. The kids are going to be raised by two parents. And it's going to be a stronger family environment, and they're going to have family values. And that even goes back to, eating at the dinner table for dinner. Just some traditions that are considered older traditions, and they may not even be, biblical, but what can we do to make our family unit stronger? How can we make sure that, these kids are taken care of? Because we have so many broken homes nowadays that kids are jump. I have kids at school that do not know where they're going to go every single day after school. They go to a different place, and it may be aunt one day, it may be uncle one day, it may be grandparents, it may be their parents. I have kids that are terrified when their kids are getting out, when their parents are getting out of jail, because they don't want to see their mom or dad. They're terrified that they're going to have to go back and live in that horrible situation again, because it's happened before. They've had, that broken home, and they don't want to go there. I mean, we have like a children's home, and those kids are there a lot of times because they got into trouble. They didn't go to school. Their parents weren't around, and so they didn't make them go to school, and they got in the court system, and so now they're stuck in a children's home. And they do a really good job of trying to make it as much of a family environment as they can, but it's not the same as having your mom and your dad and all of your siblings in the same house. You see yourself, Bubba? So let me catch up. Yeah, it is good. It is a good information for young people getting married. I mean, you've got to be able to cherish each other and love each other, and I mean, it's going to affect even mental health if you go to that, because I mean, if you're not in a stable relationship and you're worried about your partner leaving, or you're worried about your financial stability because you don't know where your baby daddy is, or you don't know if he's out going to go and get in jail because he's, you don't know what he's doing, or he's out with another woman. And how do you explain that to your kids? I mean, I had a kid come to school crying because they saw their parents were married, and they saw their dad out on the town with another woman. And they found out that their dad was cheating on their mom. And it just devastated them because they thought their parents and their family was the perfect little, unit. And then they saw that, and then they're like, do I tell my mom that I saw that? Because I wasn't with my mom. It's a teenager, right? But, and then how do they explain that to their parent, that they saw their other parent out cheating? I mean, I wouldn't want to say anything, and so they're scared. And then I have kids that come home, and their parent has, someone over at the house, and they're cheating. And their parent tells them, if you tell your mom or your dad what you just saw, I'm going to cut you out of my life. You're not going to get anything else. I'm going to take your car. I'm going to take your phone. And so you have a teenager there terrified because one parent's telling them, if you tell your mom that I'm cheating or your dad that I'm cheating, then, pretty much they're not going to have anything. It's like blackmailing your kid. And, it goes back to you have to date and you have to get to know the person before you get married. You can't base marriage off of looks. You can't base marriage off of an internet profile. You have to get to know that person. You have to have common ground between you and your spouse. And that may mean that you have to find someone that has a common interest in you or multiple common interests. And from there, you can build a relationship. Because, I've been married 10 years. Coming up this June. I haven't been married that long. But I have dated my husband all through high school. And then, so we've been together about 15 years. And there's a big difference in the honeymoon stage when you first get married and now. And, we have many things in common. We've grown through many phases of our lives. But he's my best friend. And so no matter what, I can talk to him. I can tell him about what's going on. Yes, we fight. Everybody's going to fight. You're going to have disagreements. But he's my better half. And, I was really lucky that I found him when I did. And he really supported me and helped me. And, we both went to church and we both, went to marriage, counseling before we got married. And the biggest thing that the pastor said was, what do you have in common? Why are you dating? Why do you want to get married? And he always does it was like a small little session or two before he would marry anybody, because he wanted to know why we were getting married. Because he said so many young people nowadays are just getting married because they can, or because they're going to have a baby or whatever it is. And you got to know that person, because your life is going to change, their life is going to change. And so back on the Trey and Morgan's workshop, they talk about, okay, you're married or you haven't married, you've gone through these phases of life. The number one thing that you have to do is continue dating. And they give you different little tips and tricks on what you need to do so that you can keep your marriage alive. And they said the number one thing they see whenever they do counseling for people that are thinking about getting divorced or having marriage problems is that after they got married and they got into a routine, it just was a routine. And it wasn't like they were in the house and then they went their separate ways during the day and then they came back during the night. Your connection is unstable. Did I come back? I hope I came back and said my connection was unstable. Can you hear me? Okay, good deal. And so they said the main thing was that, you just lived together. You were married, you lived together, and then you went your separate ways during the day, and then you came back. And so you get into this routine of just the same thing, and you lose why you got married. And so he said, no matter if you're married for a month or 60 years, you have to keep dating. You have to, continue dating your spouse, continue being affectionate to your spouse. And you can't take them for granted. And that was one thing that 2 years ago when me and my husband went was, we had Carly. She was 2-year-old, and we just didn't have time to date anymore. And by the time we got done with work and got home, we were eating dinner, and then we were tired and we were ready to go home. Hey, reap what you sow. Good morning. Thank you for coming in. We're just talking about marriages. And so, we kind of sat down, and they had this checklist of, your love languages and how to talk about things like that. And so we sat down, and they said to date once a week. That was their goal for everybody, is make sure you take your spouse on a date once a week. And that could be, and they said that doesn't count if you take your kids with you. And they said this date could be you going to um, a coffee shop, or even going to Walmart and buying groceries together, as long as you stay together and you talk. The whole point is whatever your date was that you were sitting down and talking. Your date could be in the mornings on Saturday before the kids got up for 30 minutes, where you just sit down and talk to your spouse and tell them about your day, tell them about what you're doing. Um, and they said at least go on one big date a month. And they said even if you're not financially able to um, go on a big date, then go to the next town over and go to a restaurant. Go to something like that, or go to a fair or something where it's just you and your husband. They said it doesn't count if you go to the movies because you're not going to be talking. The major thing, that their major rule was, if you go on a date, it has to be somewhere where it's quiet and you can talk to your spouse. So movies don't count. So let me head up here. Yeah, Grant has date night on Wednesdays. That's great. And then searching Sabrina, I have to get off. Thank you for stopping in. Even going for a drive alone, they said anything counts as long as it is quiet and you can talk to your spouse and just talk to them. And then they said they had this little survey that you did with your spouse, and you put, what do you think your spouse's love languages are? And so, I filled out what I thought my husband's love languages were, and he filled out what he thought my love languages were. And it was really funny. What I thought made him happy was totally wrong. And what he thought made me happy was totally wrong. And we had been together for, probably 8 years at that time. And so we thought that was kind of funny that what we thought were each other's love languages was actually more of what ours were. And so we thought what made us happy also made our spouse happy, and that's not necessarily true. Different people have like love languages, and he said a lot of time that happens, and so like my love language that makes me really happy for my husband is whenever he helps me around the house. Maybe he's doing the dishes, or maybe he's helping me with the kids or something like that. Like that makes me super happy because I like him being that strong family role, and I really like us being able to kind of be equals on the housework and the chores with the animals. And I love it when he's vacuuming for me. Like that makes me super happy because especially with the dishes, because I hate doing the dishes, so that makes me super super happy when he does that. And I know that's silly, but just little things like that. And I also love it when he writes me little love notes and things like that. And so his love languages were he likes to be praised. So when he does something, he likes to be praised. He likes affection, so he likes to hold hands and to snuggle on the couch and things like that. And I didn't really realize that, and I mean we did that anyways, but I didn't realize that's what really made him happy, was just the me and him time. Especially since we have 2 little kids, it was hard for us to get us time, in the evenings, just laying on the couch and watching the show, because here comes a kid and jumps on your lap, right? And so different people's love languages are different, and so you kind of have to look at them. I'd rather have help than diamonds. Yes, I mean, I agree with you, Christine. I mean, it's true. I like someone that's gonna, I feel burdened. If I have to do everything, keep the house up, I feel like I can't do it. And I really get upset that I can't keep the house as clean and spotless and, perfect as the people on TV, or even my family. Some of my family did growing up, and I was like, whenever me and my husband got married, I was like, okay, I'm never going to have a dirty house. It's always going to be perfect. So if anybody comes over, then, it's going to look like on TV, right? That was my goal. And me and my husband were like, okay. And so we tried that. And, life is busy, especially with 2 kids. My house is a mess. And I've had to just kind of take a step back and say, you know what? The house is clean, it's livable. There's not crap just everywhere. Now, yes, sometimes it's worse than others, but can I clean it and make it as clean as on TV? I mean, that's not really possible in 30 minutes to an hour. So as long as I can keep it semi-clean, I'm happy with that. I mean, it's very disheartening when you go and clean the entire living room and the kids' room, and then by the time you get done cleaning the kids' room, you're back in the living room and it was worse than you started. I mean, if you're a parent, you understand the struggle of that. And so you've got to kind of just let some things go. But, I love it if I come home and the dishes are done, or I come home and he's put up a thing of laundry or something like that. That makes me so happy. And it may be a weird love language, but that's mine. And that may be more women, I don't know, than men. But we're totally different. But yeah, I don't know if I can find a link to them, but let me see if I can look it up. But I really like them because they don't push, like I've invited friends to see them that aren't really church related, and they said they have some really good information, even if you are not a church goer. Here we go. Here's their Stronger Marriage Workshop website. I'm going to post that. And that way, if any of you guys want to check it out, they have links to closer areas that they're going to. They go all over the United States and do these workshops. And if you're married or you think you would like to go see them talk, I would definitely go. They're amazing. I love what they talk about. And they really did help me and my husband's marriage even get stronger. And I really wish we had gone this morning, but my husband had planned a fishing trip already before. So I was able to go last night. They're live streaming at our church or videoing it. So we're going to go back and watch it. But they're very easy. Like, you can send them messages and they will, send you a message back, and so you can talk to them. They're very easygoing and easy to talk to. So my son just dropped his fishing pole, so that's fine. But yeah, they mainly just talk on how to have a stronger unit, and now they're actually doing some workshops on blended families. And so, like the one that was the session today at our church was over how do you have a family that's blended. And what that means is, say you have been divorced, how do you blend those two families, and how do you make sure that the kids are not hurt by the divorce? And they really push on, yes, you may have been married at one point and you may have got divorced, and that's okay, because that's how you are. That's where you're at in your time, in this point in your life, right? But how can we get over our differences? How can we get along with each other so that the kids benefit? And I have been seeing that a lot, even here on the YouTube channels and families, that there is, the mom and the stepdad, the dad and the stepmom, and they work as a family unit. All 4 parents parent the kids. And I really think that benefits the kids, because it's not the kid's fault if, you didn't get along with your spouse, or maybe you didn't even get married, maybe you just had a child. But that actually is now giving that child 4 parents that they can look up to. And I really think, if you do go through a divorce, you should come to a point eventually that no matter what, you are going to get along with that person, even if it's just in front of the kids, for the benefit of your child. Just because those kids need parents, and they don't need parents fighting, and they don't need parents saying, no, you can never see your dad. That's not fair to the child. Just because you didn't like your child's father or your child's mother doesn't mean that child shouldn't have that opportunity to get to know their parent. Now, I mean, there are situations that a parent should not be involved in the life, and I'm not saying by any means that if you have a parent that is, a severe drug addict and going in and out of jail, that you should encourage your child to be in that person's life. But if at some point in that person's life, there you go. But if at some point that person does get their life together and they are going in the right direction, I don't see why there's no reason you can't have supervised visits and make sure that they are doing the right thing. And if they do get clean, then if the child, wants to be able to see the parent, fine. But I also don't believe that if a child is not, if a parent doesn't poison a child towards another parent, if that child doesn't want to see their parent, they should be forced to. Just because you don't know what's happening when you're not around. I don't have a very good relationship with my mom, and that's a whole nother story. But I'm so glad that my dad and my aunt did not make me go and see her just because they didn't know the situation, and you don't know what's going on. If you are friends with your ex-spouse and you have visitation rights and the kids go and they come back and they said, I don't want to go back, you need to investigate that because something's probably going on. You don't need to force the kid to go. Now, I know there are situations that the court forces the kid to go, but that's when you need to be proactive and figure out, why is my kid not wanting to go? But I don't know. You got to protect your kids. But if your spouse, if you just don't get along for whatever reason, there's nothing dangerous for your kid to, see that spouse. I don't see why there's no reason the kids can't have a good relationship, and I don't see why both parents and step parents can't work together to make a better life for that kid and provide for the kid. I've seen it work, and you have to get over, your differences. One of my coworkers at work, her and her husband, and then I think it was like his girlfriend and her husband, they even have like Christmas together, so that all the kids don't have to go, okay, I'm going to dad's Christmas this year, and then mom's Christmas next year, or, even dad's Christmas this week and mom's Christmas next week. They, as a huge family unit, all go to, they switch off houses each year, and they go to one house. Everybody sleeps in the house, both sets of parents, all the kids, and they get up and have a big family Christmas. What is it, baby? Are you almost out? And yeah, I've seen parents make their kids ponds too, and that's horrible. Hey, do you want some more to drink? No? Okay. I know a couple that's divorced, and they have a good relationship, and they share this. That's good. That's really how it should be. You should. What is it, baby? You gotta use your words. Oh, more Mickey? You wanna go watch Mickey? You can see it? I don't know. So. I don't know what you're saying. You wanna go in there? You got a mama? He's trying to tell me what he wants. What do you want, baby? You want me to take you in there? I got a mama too. I got a baby. I don't know what he's wanting. You want me to take you in there? Let me see if he wants to go in there. I'll be right back, and then we'll get back on topic. Your mama get you a drink and take you in there? I got a baby. Oh, you just want to cuddle? Okay. But yeah, I just want people to get along. I know that's hard, and I know that No matter. Oh, you see Mama on the screen? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, he sees us on the screen. That's what he's saying. I see you too. But I just think that, marriage in general has kind of been. You see yourself? Yeah, thank you. You see the? You see? All right. I really think that marriage needs to take a new stand, and I think the people that are helping other people learn about marriage and strong marriage, we really need to support those people, and we need to support our youth and teach them the importance of marriage. And I try to do that at school with my kids, but you would be surprised how many of them do not live with their parents that are married. They don't live. I think there was one student last year when I did my survey, one student out of about 200 that lived with their mom and their dad, and all of their siblings were from the same parents. Everybody else either lived with one or the other, or grandparents, and they had siblings from multiple different, marriages. And so it's really sad and really heartbreaking to see those kids like that. Good morning, Carrie, Ashley, how are you? Yeah, and they want nothing. Yeah, exactly. But I really think we've got to show these kids and teach them, the importance and the sanctity of marriage. Because a lot of them have no idea what marriage is or why you should even get married. You got a computer? And especially if they've never seen it, they've never seen a parent or a grandparent that was married, they don't understand the point or the reason. Some water? And so how are they supposed to know the importance of marriage or why to get married if they've never seen anybody in their life that was married or even the importance of it? Hey, don't touch the screen. Don't touch it. No. You want to go back and watch Mickey Mouse? Oh, you want to play on the computer. He wants to play on the computer. That's really good. Oh, looky there. But yeah, so I've tried to, teach my advisory class about marriage and why you should get married. And they think it's very, weird that me and my husband have only been married to each other. We pretty much only dated each other, and they just think that is bizarre and weird. They think it's weird that that's a fishing pole. They just don't understand why you should get married. And they just think I am a weirdo for being married and only being with my husband. And they're like, that's no fun. You're going to get old and be bored. You shouldn't have brought it over here if you didn't want to get it. You know better. Yeah, there's a pretty girl. They're in the live stream today. I think they're just tired. But I try to tell them, why you want to be married, the importance of it, the financial benefits of it, the mental benefits of being married. I said, I don't have to worry about my husband. I know that he's not going to cheat on me. I know that he's going to be faithful to me. I don't have to worry about that. I can trust him to go out and do what he's doing, because 9 times out of 10, he's going with his friends and going fishing or something like that. He's, we've talked about it for, even before we got married, Mommy. And so I don't have to worry about that. Maybe today you can soon as I get off here, we'll go play on the scooter, and then we will go to Nana's house as soon as she wakes up. Yep, Bubba's gonna come. Can you say hello? Yeah, Bubba's staying the night too. So, Carrie, you've never been married. You don't plan on. How old are you, Carrie? If you don't mind, or you don't have to say. You can just give me a range. Are you under 20? Between 20 and 30. But you know, I tell it like, and my husband's the same way with me. I mean, I got 2 kids. Where am I going to be going? You know. Yeah, and I believe that too. Oh, you want to ride the broom group? You can ride the broom group at Nana's. But we're not going to go to Nana's right now. You want a drink? No. But like later 40s. Okay. I mean, that's fine. There's people that don't get married. I mean, Charlie here is named after Uncle Charlie, and he never got married. And he is perfectly happy with that. And there's nothing wrong with living the life. But I really like being married. I really love my husband. I like the unit that we have together and how we take care of each other. So, you know, but I don't have to worry about him. I know where he's at. You know, the other big thing that Trey and Leah said was like your phone. You should never have your phone locked. Your spouse should know your password. Your spouse should be able to look at any messages or anything you do on social media. You should be an open book with your spouse. You shouldn't hide anything from your spouse. Not that I ever pick up my husband's phone and go through his text messages because I could care less what he's talking about with his friends. But I know, like if his phone goes off and he gets a text from somebody, he's like, hey, what did they say? And I'm like, you know, I'll say, oh, Lee's asking, you know, when you're leaving. And he's like, just text them back. And so, you know, same thing with mine. If my phone goes off, most of the time it's my aunt or my dad or one of my friends, and he'll get it, he'll read it, he'll be like, hey, your dad texted you, call him back. Or, you know, we'll answer each other's phone. If someone calls, we'll answer. And, you know, his parents will call and I'll answer on his phone, but hey, and they're like, did we call you or Peyton? Like they get confused because they're like, why did we answer each other's phone? Well, I mean, we have it locked, but like my husband knows my passcode to get it locked. Does that make sense? Like I have it locked so my kids don't get on my phone, but I don't have it locked so my husband can't get on there, and that way I could hide stuff from him. If that makes sense, Grant. Like I'm sure if your wife asked, you would give her your passcode. But the whole thing is, do you trust your wife enough or your husband enough to let them be on your phone? Right? So that's the big one. And the other thing is, out of all the marriage counseling they have done in the past, the number one cause of someone to cheat or to get a divorce or leave a marriage, it wasn't that person going out and saying, okay, today I'm going to go cheat on my wife and sleep with so-and-so. It was in the workplace or on your phone, social media, someone is a friend or you meet somebody and you start a casual, non-toxic relationship and you just are saying, hey, good morning, or I hope you're having a great day today, or you know, you're looking nice today. Something that shouldn't be thought of as a negative. The problem, and I'm not saying you can't tell people good morning and stuff like that, but that's where it builds from. You know, you're in your workplace and the lady or the man in the cubicle next to you, you see them just as much as you do your husband or your wife, because you go to work pretty much every day. And you start that basic relationship, right? And you start talking to them. Well, a lot of us work and are at our jobs more than we're at home. And so you then start growing that relationship in a friendly way, and you just say, hey, you look pretty today. Well, maybe, especially for a woman, maybe we dressed up because we wanted our husband to notice us, right? And in the busyness of the morning, we've dressed up, we're looking nice, we're hoping to get compliments, and we leave the house and our husband doesn't say anything. And then we get to work and the gentleman in the cubicle next door is like, oh, you're looking very beautiful today. Well, then we got that confirmation that we were pretty from a stranger, and that makes us feel good. Well, if that happens multiple times, then eventually we're going to start feeling something towards that person. May it be attraction, whatever you're going to call it. We're going to feel loved. Love is a very different word by that person because they're complimenting us. And now our husband isn't complimenting us because, we're in that busy work with our husbands. We don't see them that much. And so we have this person at work that is complimenting us. And then it comes along to our birthday, right? And men are really struggle with it. And it's our birthday in that morning, and we're in such a big hurry. Maybe you forget to tell your wife happy morning, or in the morning, happy birthday, or even happy anniversary. Well, they get to work, and that person there at work is saying, "Oh, hey, I hope you're having a great day. Happy birthday." And they're giving you that affection that you're not getting at home, and so that relationship is festering and building, and you're getting all this love from this stranger, and you're not getting it from your husband or your wife. I mean, it can go both ways. And so eventually, say it's your birthday and your husband is off at work and he can't take you out on a birthday dinner. And so a group of friends at work are like, hey, since your husband's at work, why don't we take you out for your birthday? And then that person goes, and they're like, they're celebrating your birthday with you. And then it comes along to Christmas, and maybe, they get you something nicer than your husband got you, or whatever it may be. And so eventually it takes time, months and months and months for these relationships to build. And then eventually, after a long time, that's when the cheating happens. It wasn't just a one night thing. If you're in a solid, good marriage, it's not like a one night thing. It takes months and months and months for the other relationship to be growing and building, while your marriage is just kind of stagnant and staying here. And that's when the person cheats. And unfortunately, if a female cheats, they are more likely to not go back to their husband because they have now felt like the husband is not giving them the love and the affection that they want, and this other person is. And it's really harder, I guess. This is not me saying from personal experience, but from documents and data, it's harder for a female to cheat on their spouse than a male. And so if they do cheat, they're more likely to not recover the marriage. Now with men are, I don't know. This is just talking from what I've heard in these workshops and just different TED Talks. Men do the same thing. So they're building that relationship with the woman. But if they cheat on their wife, a lot of times the wife is forgiving and she feels like it's her fault. And so then if a man cheats on the wife, a lot of times they can recover the marriage and they can get through it and do counseling, and the woman is probably not going to leave the man. Most of the time, it's not 100%, but if a woman cheats, a lot of times the man will not rectify the marriage. I don't know if that's true or not. I've never actually, me and my husband have never cheated on each other, so I don't know. But the whole point is, just because just little innocent conversations with a person of the opposite sex is toxic, and you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't talk to people outside of your family environment that is the opposite sex that your spouse is not friends with, because that is where you get into that danger zone, and that's where your chance of cheating increases. So I'm going to go back and read some of these. Some people don't use cell phones. Yeah, that's true. Let's see. I have male friends who hubby knows them, and I'm not cheating on him when I'm with them. I mean, that's yeah. I mean, my husband has male friends, and I mean, we talk all the time. And there's a difference in having a male friend that your husband knows and is friends with, and maybe you even may have met them through your husband, or maybe you were like high school friends with them, and you're just friends, right? You've been friends for years. Then I'm not saying that that's gonna cheat because you're not. You're just friends. Um, but if you're like a coworker that is giving, if you are receiving affection from that person, that's when it's toxic. Um, Poor attempt at humor. I'm not sure if I missed that. I guess. If you get time to go to my playlist and watch the one in. Okay, Jeremiah. Yep. Listening to an old graybeard here, folks. If you're gonna sneak whatever you're doing, it's wrong. Yes, that is very true, single man. If you're sneaking, or that's where the friendship comes into. If you're friends with a person, a person of the opposite sex. Look, you want one? Okay. If you're friends with a person of the opposite sex, and you're not telling your husband or your significant other, whoever it is, that you're talking to them and that you're going places with them, and you don't tell your significant other that what you're even talking about. Like I have male teachers at school that I talk to, but I'll come home and when I'm telling my husband about my day, I tell my husband what we talked about. Um, so that's different. If you have friends of the opposite sex that you are open with your spouse with, there's nothing toxic there. But if you're trying to sneak or you're hiding conversations that you've had with the opposite sex, or you don't want your husband or your wife to know that you're hanging out or talking to somebody, then that's not okay. And if your spouse tells you they don't want you hanging out with that person, then you need to respect that because there's probably a reason behind them not wanting you to hang out with them. And again, that goes back to, do you have a healthy marriage? Do you have a good relationship with your spouse? And then is your spouse being demanding or pushing and refusing to let you talk to anybody of the opposite sex? Then that's unhealthy in itself. But if they're just saying, no, I don't want you talking to that person, and they could give you a valid reason why, then you need to respect your spouse for asking you not to have that relationship, because maybe they are feeling jealous of that person because you're hanging out with them more than you are your spouse. And again, you should never be hanging out with someone of the opposite sex more than you do your own spouse. That is just wrong and unhealthy for your marriage. So, yeah, people can have friends, but you can't sneak around about it. So, let's be honest. You can cheat with anyone, but I choose not to. Yeah, I mean, that's true. You have to, most people that cheat are not, if you're in a good, healthy relationship with your spouse, you're not going to just go out and decide, okay, today I'm going to go cheat on my spouse. There's going to be some sort of lacking in your marriage, and that relationship is going to build over time. Good morning, Nana Grace. How are you doing? It's okay. You must be doing stuff in the mornings. So we've just been talking about marriage and the importance of marriage, and how having relationships with the opposite sex can be unhealthy. Now, they're not always unhealthy, but just depending on that relationship, you have to be careful in how it grows and how it involves, like how you involve that person in your life, because there is a potential of cheating, and therefore you shouldn't do that. But again, if both you and your spouse know the person that you're friends with, then there's nothing wrong with that. that's just one of the ways that cheating ends up occurring, is when you have a friend of the opposite sex and you hide that from your spouse and you don't tell them, and then that little relationship grows and grows and grows and becomes bigger, then you're more likely to cheat than if you're open about your relationships. So, and that's just, I can see that, just because if you have somebody that is praising you, that is, whatever your love language is, if they are feeling that love language for you, and then your spouse is not, maybe you're in that stagnant part of your marriage where you're so busy and you have small children and you're just go, 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 and you see them in the morning, say, hey, good morning, you kiss them, you go to work, you get home, you're so tired, you get dinner done, and then you lay down and you go to bed, and you never ever stop and have the you time with your spouse, and then you're at work and you're growing this relationship with somebody, eventually that's going to become an unhealthy relationship. So that's just what Trey and Leah had talked about during their seminar, and I really do agree with it, just because there are healthy relationships and there are unhealthy relationships, and you need to be open with your spouse. And we talked about the phone or whatever it may be that you talk to people about. You need to have your spouse should have your passcode to your phone. They shouldn't be blocked out of anything in your life. You should tell them everything. And it all goes back to, are you dating your spouse? Are you continually, no matter what, no matter if you've been married a month or 60 years, are you still dating? Are you still, what? Oh, you got it on your hands? Are you talking? Are you taking that 30 minutes a day and sitting down uninterrupted, which is hard when you have little kids? And are you talking about your day? Are you still involved in your husband or your wife's life? Or are you just living together? Because you don't want to get to that point in your marriage where you're just living together in the same house. You want me to? What is it, baby? You want to go over? Okay. Just a second. I'll be back. I mean, if you've ever watched one of my live streams, you can see that, we have 2 small children. It's very, very difficult for me and my husband to find even 10 minutes of alone time. But, we're in a routine where we make sure we put the kids to bed early, about 8 o'clock, and that way we have a little bit of us time before we go to bed. And it may be that you get up a little bit early, and have your coffee together with your spouse and talk before you go to work and start your day. Excuse me. But are you continually dating your spouse? No matter how long you've been married, you've got to continue dating, and you've got to continue talking to your spouse. You can't just say, oh, we're married, it's 10 years. Me and my husband have been married 10 years. We're happy. Sorry, are we stuck in this mundane of this routine that we've got down set, and we never, spend time for us? And it's really, really important that you continue to grow your relationship with your spouse, and you continue to talk to them. And I really think that's important. I found their workshop really, really useful and helpful for me and my husband. It took me some convincing a few years ago to even get him to go. I'm trying to turn on the TV for my son. I'm sorry, I'm talking to someone. But because he was like, we're not. Our marriage is fine. We don't need any marriage counseling, because he thought going to a marriage workshop, even though it's called Stronger Marriages, that was for people that were struggling in their marriage. And here is their website if you want to check them out. Yeah, wedding cake kills romance. But are you continually growing your marriage? Are you talking to your spouse? Um, are you praying with your spouse? Are you having a godly relationship with your spouse? I look back with my grandparents, now my grandma's passed, every single night before they went to bed, or before my grandma went to bed, because Papa would stay up and watch TV, they would sit in their little recliners next to each other, and they would hold each other's hands, and they would pray together before they went to bed. And I thought that was so sweet and so amazing that they took that time and they turned the TV off. They talked about their day, even though they both sat there all day in their little recliner. They talked about just different things. They talked about the grandkids. If you know, if I brought the grandkids over, they would talk about that. Okay, but they would just talk about their life, and they would throw it to me. I don't know where that goes. But even though they literally stayed in their house and didn't get out much, like that. They would sit there and talk, I don't know, for 30 minutes to an hour. They would pray together, and then Granny would go to bed. And I really think that was part of, their routine. They talked about different things because sometimes Papa would get out before the Granny, and so if he got to leave and go do something, he would come in and tell Granny about it. I stayed with her a little bit whenever she was on hospice and going, and she would talk to me about how she was proud of me and stuff like that. I'm getting emotional, I'm sorry. But I really looked up to them about what marriage should be. And they were married 63 years. And that's what I want to be like. I want to be like them with my husband. And you don't see that anymore. You don't see people that are married for 60 years. You see more people getting divorced. You see people around here that you can only get married, I think, 7 times. And they've got married so many times they can't get married anymore. You see people that they'll marry one wife, get divorced, marry another wife, and then go back to the original wife. And I don't understand that either. But I do believe that it is important to keep God number one in your marriage. He should be the rock that holds your marriage together, and you should be able to go to your spouse and make sure you keep God in your life and in your marriage. And I think that'll help you make it through even the roughest times, no matter what it may be. He'll be there. So, and I just think that marriage has kind of been made not as important as it really is. I don't think people really sanctify or give marriage credit. And yeah, trust is key. Can you trust that person? And I tell kids that all the time. If they're dating someone in high school and they cheat on them in high school, the chances of them cheating again are pretty much 100%. I'm a true believer. Now, it may not be the case, and others can disagree, but I believe that, if someone is going to cheat on you, they're going to do it again. People may say, oh, no, I'll never do it again, but I don't think I could trust somebody that cheated. And I don't care if that is being untrustworthy and just not disclosing everything that's going on, or actually, cheating. I think that it's important that you're honest with each other. And if you can't trust your spouse, or you can't trust them when you're dating them, how are you going to trust them when you're married? It's just, you're not going to be able to do that. So if someone cheats on you when you're dating, that I definitely would not encourage that person to be married to that person because um, I don't know. So yes, so single man, you and your wife fought like cats and dogs until you came together in Christ. Yeah, I mean, I really think that that's part of it. I mean, if you can't go together in Christ, I mean, Christ or God created marriage, and He laid it out and what it should be, and He said, that He would be there for marriage. And so you just, if you don't have Christ in your marriage, I think you're going to have a lot of marital problems. So, Grant, I think you made a lot of great points. You should make a regular video, write title and tags, and get a lot of reviews to help marriage. Yeah, thank you, Grant. I need to work on that. Um, I guess I need to figure out how to even like do where you show premiere your video, like your live stream, where it's like in 30 minutes you're gonna go live. I've tried to do that. I'm not very tech savvy, so. And I mean, honestly, I didn't know what I was going to talk about this morning until about 5 minutes before the show. And I thought, you know what, that the marriage topic is something I feel passionate about. And so I want to talk about it. And I may do a regular video or maybe a video series about Trey and Leah and their marriage workshop. I may try to do that. And then kind of go back over what I did in this live stream and just do like, I don't know. I just think it's important. I just don't know if people would watch it. I mean, I just do YouTube for fun. I don't know. It's not like, I don't know. I guess I should be more serious with it and really work on it and try to do that. So, but yeah, I agree, single man. Trust is hard and it's easily lost, and it's very, very hard to regain trust. Very hard. If you can't trust people in your life, a lot of, and especially nowadays, even kids, I was raised that I respect my elders no matter what, and I trust everything they say. Nowadays, kids are being burnt and they're being led, and it's hard for them to trust adults. It's hard for them to trust people in general. And so I've had so many kids, tell me, I don't respect or trust anybody until they earn it. And, whenever I was growing up, I was taught that you respect and you trust your elders and their word is gold, no matter what. And, I don't know if that's necessarily, I don't know which side really is better. I think you should respect your elders until, for some reason, they give you a reason not to. You should respect anybody unless they give you a reason not to. And trusting, I mean, I'm really bad about being too trusting. And so I guess it is important that you trust them, but you kind of keep your guard up and you kind of build that relationship. I don't know. I just think it's a lot different. Good morning, Smith Family Ranch. You missed a lot about our marriage. I've been talking about marriage for about an hour. You might want to go back and watch that. I don't know. Yeah, now you do YouTube for the fun. Yep. Too. I just don't have the time. It's unstable. Please wait while we're rich. Uh-oh. Okay, I think I'm back. I've got that twice today where it's like, you're like, that's not good. I did not want to wake up this morning either. Let me grab my son. Am I back? I don't know. Oh, wow. Yeah. We had our first senior high football game, and they went probably probably 3 or 4 hours away. So, pretty far trip for the boys. I don't think they got in until late. So we had a football season is up and going. So yeah, but that's exciting that your son's in the band. I always liked the bands at school. So, but yeah, I stayed up till midnight last night just piddling around. But the kids are gonna go to the to Nana's house this afternoon and spend the night. So today I'll be a free woman. I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I will get some stuff done with the rabbits. I need to get them ready for sleep. On my phone, it shows I'm still spinning. I don't know. Maybe I just need to refresh my phone. Can y'all hear me okay? Okay, it looks like I refreshed my phone. It's back again. So, but, um, but yeah, that was mainly what I wanted to talk about was stronger marriages and why it's important to be married and have God number one in your marriage, and why so many young people nowadays don't do that, and why the divorce rate or even the non-marriage rate is super high. There's lots of different statistics, many different things you can look at. A lot of people say it's financial. A lot of people say it's because women are being more educated and therefore they're waiting longer to get married. But I really think out of the three, the third one was because people are stepping away from the church. I think out of the three, financial would be one. Education, so people are going to college or going to get education after high school more, especially women, and that therefore they're waiting longer to get married. And then the third was people are kind of falling away from the church or not following the Bible. I think out of those three, I would have to agree more with Christ, and that people are not going to church and people are not putting God in their marriage or even in their relationships. I think the other two are probably a factor of that third one of people not going to church, because if you're not going to church and you don't have God in your life, then you're not going to put marriage as number one or as important as you're looking for a significant other. Or maybe you're not going to look for a significant other because you're just going to do it by yourself. Even if you do go to college to get a better education. I mean, I did that. I have my master's degree in education. I still got married pretty young. I think I was 20, and my husband was 22 when we got married. We had dated since I was a freshman in high school, and he was a junior in high school. So I don't think that, getting education affected us getting married any. Financially, I mean, my husband works a blue-collar job. He's a construction worker. I'm a teacher, so I don't get paid a whole bunch either. So financially, we're not making the big bucks, but we're making enough to get by. So I think the main marriage crisis goes to people don't respect marriage. People don't think it's important, and they don't think that having God in their life is the most important thing. Unfortunately, our country has, and even the world has really fallen away from Christ in my lifetime. And I just think that's sad. And I know I'm not. I haven't done as well as I should either. When I was growing up, my grandfather and grandmother were very prominent in the church. My grandfather was a pastor for many years. My granny played the piano and led singing and did children's church. No matter what, it didn't matter if you were sick or not, you went to church. For a while there, when me and my husband first got married, and I was going to school and working full time, there was a lot of times I had to work on Sundays, and so we didn't get to go to church. And so we got out of that routine. And then once we got into our actual jobs that we're in now, and thankfully I have Sundays off, it took us us a while to get back in that routine of going to church because it was just a norm that we went to work instead. And so instead of getting up and going to church, we stayed home. And so it took us finding out we were pregnant with Carly that we kind of realized, wow, we haven't been to church in probably a year. And we're not working on Sundays anymore, so we don't have a reason not to. And so that's when we started getting back in the church family. So we actually called our church from back home and said, where we live now, where is a good church? Where is a church you would recommend? Is there a pastor that you know local to where we live that we could go to church there? And so we started going to church again, and it was really great. Our marriage got stronger from it. And then when we moved back home, we started going back to our original home church we went to growing up our whole life. And it's amazing. We have a great church family, great kids program. So many kids in the youth group. Carly has lots of kids her age that are in her Sunday school class, and she loves it. When Charlie's ever been sick, excuse me, or we've ever missed, she was like, Mommy, we didn't go to church. She reminds us she loves going. She loves going to both Sunday school and regular church. She's like, I want to go to both classes because sometimes it's hard to get up early. Our church starts at 9, and I don't know. Sometimes you would think 9. We get to work by 7. I get to work by 7:30 every day, so 9:00 shouldn't be that big a deal. But it's just something about, I guess, the devil working that he's like, oh, just sleep in, and you don't have to go to church today. You can go next week. But then that becomes like a routine. So you really have to put God first and make sure that you go to church, you take your kids to church, raise them up, and give them the best opportunity they'll have in their life. Because it's so easy not to go. And the devil does work very hard. He doesn't want us to go to church, and he doesn't want us to have a Christian marriage, and he doesn't want us to raise our kids in a Christian home, because then it's easier when they go out in the world for him to sway them in the ways of the world instead of the ways of Christ. So you've got to make sure that you keep your relationship with God, number one, and do that in your family, do that in your marriage, and do it in your life. No matter what religion you are, you just got to make sure that you keep God first. So that's pretty much what I've talked about today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope if you came in late, you may want to go back and look at it. And I know, y'all are from Texas. Trey, Smith Family Ranch. Trey and Leah Morgan are from Texas, and so they do a lot of different stronger marriage workshops in Texas. They have some upcoming workshops that are going to be maybe close to you. I don't know. I'm trying to look on their website. Like today was Batesville, and then Commerce, Texas is October 12th. New Mexico is November 15th and 16th. And then there's one in Tennessee on December 6th and 7th. And so they also have a 2019 thing. So they go all over the United States and do these marriage workshops. And then they've just now started doing these, like a blended family workshop where they're trying to what is it, baby? Where they're trying to oh, you got it on your hands? Okay, I'm sorry. He's got chips on his hands. Where they're trying to help people that are divorced blend their families and make sure that the kids are still number one and that they keep God. And how do you, as a divorcee, and then if you remarry, how do you blend both of those families to one family unit to benefit the kids? So we had to get there at 8 on Mass on Sundays. I now go to 4 on Saturday Mass, so I don't have to get up anymore. Yeah. Well, thankfully, our church has Sunday school at 9, and then regular service at 10, and then, which that's not really that late. And then we have small group or Sunday evenings at 6, and then on Wednesdays it's 6:30. So, what? Yeah, you got a mama. But there are different churches. I mean, even in our area that have later services than that. They don't start till like 10 and then 11. So, I mean, you can find a church for you that fits for you. You can find a church family, and you can find a time that's good for you. It's just important to make sure you go, no matter what it is. Are you yelling? Come here. Come here. Up. What are you doing? You want a drink? Yeah. I don't know where your drink went. It's in there in the living room. You want to go get it? Alright, let me go drop it over. Go get your drink. In October, I'll be teaching religious ed. That is really cool. Yeah, I think my goal for this coming year, I've been really thinking about it for probably a year or two. And, it goes back with my grandma, how she used to do Sunday school and teach classes. But I think I really want to get more involved. Just a second. And I think I'm going to do that the next time they have sign-ups at church. For anything, I'm going to try to get involved. I've been telling myself that. I haven't physically told anybody, but that I'm going to get more involved. What is it, baby? But I really think the devil's been working with me, and because I always come up with an excuse why I can't. You got a bottle. You want juice? Okay. Let me grab him a juice really quick, and then I'll come back. Okay? I'm so sorry, guys. So sorry, guys. This is why I have tried not to do live streams, because I always get distracted with the kids, but that's part of it. And surprisingly, y'all keep watching me, so I'll keep going. Single man. I don't believe in divorce vows taken before God cannot be. Yeah, I agree. I don't believe in divorce. I don't think that is. I don't think that's something that you should do. I think if you get married, you vow to marry that person, and if you're not ready for that commitment, you shouldn't get married. Now there are a few biblical reasons to get divorced, but I really do believe you should try to work through those, even if the case is like I would never ever divorce my husband. I would never leave him. The only way I would get divorced is if for some reason he wanted to divorce me, but he said the same thing. He said the only way that he would ever get divorced if I left him. And so, again, that's why I don't worry about it. I know and I can trust him. We both believe the same. So, but anyways, back on the thing, I really want to get more involved in church. I've made excuses for years on why I can't teach a Sunday school class or why I can't teach a class. And it's always been because, like Charlie, he won't let me leave. Like at church, I end up sitting in the nursery pretty much because unless he's being quiet. And sometimes I feel like going to church is a waste of my time. because all I do is sit in the nursery, and I don't get to hear the sermon. I'm stuck with him. But what can I do to benefit God? What can I do to help the church out? So at this point in my life, I'm studying the Bible. I read it. But could I do the ministry in the baby class where he's at, or the 1 and 2 year olds class? And that way, they have 2 teachers. What is it, son? What? Mama. Yeah. I mean, he's very attached. I got a baby. But why couldn't? There's no reason why I could not sign up and teach the 1 and 2 year old class. That way, I'm in that class anyways. Every single Sunday. Every single Sunday morning, whenever it's Bible hour, I drop Carly off at her class. I try to go drop him off. It maybe lasts 10 minutes. He has a meltdown. I end up sitting in there anyways. So why not sign up and teach that class? That way, there's 2 teachers normally, so we could co-teach it. I'm in there anyways, so why not? Why can I not force myself to sign up? I always give myself a reason. And I think that, again, that's the devil telling me I'm not good enough. I don't have enough time to study for the lessons for the kids. I already teach 5 days a week at school. I really don't want to teach another day and have to plan. But, God gave me the gift to be a teacher, and I need to use that to further His word. So I think the next time we have sign-ups, I'm going to, tell them that I want to do the 1 and 2 year old class and teach it, and then help out with the nursery, because right now he's not big enough here in regular class, like regular church. He goes in the nursery because it's for 2 and under. But then once he gets to be 3, I can help out in children's church. They normally have a couple adults in there to do that because we have so many children. And teach that because I'm going to be in there anyway. So, and I'm helping. I might as well be take a part and be a leader every once in a while because they kind of rotate it. They don't have just like one Sunday school teacher that does it always. That way, it's not a burden on one person. They do it. They have 3 quarters, I think, or 4 quarters, and so you can choose to teach 2 of the quarters or just 1. And then you don't have to. You could take like a break. And so it's not like I'm going to be committing to teaching every single lesson for the next year. I could just sign up for 1 quarter and teach, and then take a break, and then teach the next quarter. And so, but right now, while my kids are small and I'm in there anyways, I might as well do that. And then once they get bigger and they're able to, like especially him, he's able to go to class himself, then maybe I can go back and go to my own Sunday school class, but still help in the children's church. Because growing up, I really admired and looked up to my grandma and my grandpa, because they were very involved in church. And I still today go to my grandpa if I have any questions about the Bible. If I'm unsure of what I've read or unsure about a lesson, I go to him, and he's my rock. He's very, very knowledgeable in the Bible. And he can, pretty much recite scripture. It's crazy how good he is. And I want to be that role model for my kids. And the only way to do that is to be more involved in church. And we have a great team of other younger women that are my age that I can work with and support. And I've been more involved in some things, but I really want to be more involved in the teaching aspect of it. It's scary because I worry about not being good enough, but maybe that's just my little struggles, and I can, be better and do it for God. And that's what He wants for us. He wants us to all be teachers. He wants us all to help out and make sure that the younger generation is learning. We can't just expect the younger generation to read the Bible and understand and be saved, and know what marriage is or know what right and wrong is. We have to teach them that, and we have to teach them good values. And I want to be involved in that. aspect in our church and in my school community. Ooh, that's hot. I was up getting some juice. I got some more coffee. But but yeah, I definitely agree with single man. I know you said it a while ago. Death till death do us part. That is what marriage is. Sickness and in health till death do us part. And I truly 100% believe that. I believe that if I get sick when I'm 80 something years old, my husband will be there and nurture me. I will do the same for him and take care of him to the best of my ability. Um, my grandparents did that. My grandma had cancer and passed away in hospice, but she passed away in her home. And I think that's the way it should be. I think it's so sad when people are just kind of dropped in a nursing home or dropped in the hospital and left, and no one comes and visits them, and no one talks to them. You know, they just drop them off and leave them to die, and that's so sad. I don't think someone should die alone. I don't think someone should be alone. Um, and that's the whole point of being married is that you have somebody till death, and you have somebody that you can trust to be there. And then you should also raise your kids in the manner that they will be there. So, like, now that my grandma has passed, my papa's health is not that great. And luckily, my aunt and my dad are helping keep him at home. My aunt more so. She is the rock. She has given up pretty much the last 2 years of her life and just stay there and taking care of Papa. And he's gotten worse, and she has kept him 100% out of the nursing home. And she stays by his side. He had a stroke a few weeks ago. She stayed by his side until the hospital. We put him in rehab to try to get stronger. They said, you cannot stay here because it was just against their policy. She stayed the first night, and then she did go home, but she would stay until they kicked her out, and then she would be there bright and early with Papa by his side. And, you know, if you raise your children in that manner, you'll always have someone there with you. Well, thank you, single man. I appreciate that. Connection is bad again. I believe God gave me the gift to be a teacher. Luckily, my grandma was a teacher, my dad was a teacher, so it really kind of goes in our family, and so I've been able to look up to and see other role models in my life that were teachers. You know, I just feel God has led me to try to help the younger generation and teach them just whatever is important at the time. So, I don't know. Funny enough as it is, I'm not really that great at public speaking. You would think as a teacher I am. But I don't know. I like smaller groups, and I like just helping people more one-on-one. And I even do that in my classroom. I don't do very much like whole group lecture. I do a little bit, and then I do like small one-on-one group because I like to kind of individualize learning for the kids. That way they get it better. I don't know. I just enjoy teaching. I feel like it helps me. And it also, I don't know why I enjoy it as much as I do. It's a struggle, and it's a hard job. It's definitely not easy. But it's very, very, very rewarding, that's for sure. You can see the kids grow, you can see them learning, and I don't know. Oh, thank you, Eli. Thank you. You want to come up? You want this? You want a tomato? What's a tomato? There you go, baby. He tomatoes with Italian garden. So, I really do appreciate that, Eli, so much. I've had a couple of different people say that to me, that they're like, I don't know, that I speak years above my age and things like that. And I don't know why or how I do that. I just try to I don't know, maybe I had great role models in my life. Excuse me. And I'm just passing on the knowledge. I had great grandparents, great parents that instilled in me some really good values, and I am pretty solid on them and don't try to waver. So I try to pass that on to the younger generation because a lot of them don't have a good role model in their life, and so I try to be that for them and teach them uh, just basic, kindness to others. And a lot of the things that we have are nowadays, the world is just really wicked, and people are, I don't know, they don't know any better, maybe, or it's easier to, I don't know, maybe it's easier to do bad than good. I don't know why the world is changing in the way it is, and why marriage isn't important, and why treating others isn't important, and why there's so much disconnect between everybody and so much hate in the world. Maybe it's always been there, and maybe just because of technology and being able, I mean, 100 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to sit here and talk to people in other, states or even countries. So maybe it's always been there. It's just been hidden and not easily accessible. I don't know. Or maybe people are, I don't know. I think it's probably the world has always been wicked. It's just a lot easier for us to see the wickedness now because, I mean, we can see what's happening in other countries. We can see videos. I don't disbelieve that hasn't been going on forever. I just think it's easier for us to see all the bad things now. And unfortunately, the media doesn't really show us much of the good. It's always bad, bad, and negative. So, thank you. Yeah, I mean, my dad was really good, and so were my grandparents. So, I'm very blessed, and even my husband's parents. I'm very blessed in the way that they raised him to be a good father and a godly father and a great role model for our kids. So I was very blessed with that. And his parents, also made him and molded him into a good husband and how to be a good husband. They taught him that. And I'm very blessed for his raising as well because without his parents, I don't think we would be where we're at, in our marriage because, his parents, or especially his mom, it's him and his sister, and she made both of their kids have equal responsibility in the house, where it was chores or out I mean, they both had equal responsibility, and so whenever me and him started dating, and then when we got married, it was easy for me to say, I want us to be equals in those things because, like with my grandparents, Granny was the homemaker. Papa worked, and when he got home, he didn't really help around the house. And my dad is the same way. Even though my granny and my mom both worked outside of the home, they were the only homemaker. Um, Granny would get up before everybody, bathe, have breakfast on the table, and then wake up Papa. And he would get up, eat, and then leave the plate where it was and go get dressed for work. Granny put shoes and socks on Papa's feet until the day she couldn't walk. And then she would even get over there on her walker that had a bench and sit down on her walker and put Papa's shoes on his feet and socks on his feet. She did that, and that was how marriage I guess was then. There's nothing wrong with that. My dad was the same way. My dad never helped my mom around the house. My mom did everything, and then that was the only one thing I didn't really agree with. I thought that if I was going to be working and my husband was going to be working, then and we were both bringing an income to the family, we both needed to equally share the responsibilities of the house. Now, during times when I was going to college and I wasn't working, I primarily did the housework. And he worked 2 jobs, so he didn't have time to help around the house, which was understandable. But I told him before we got married, we sat down and we discussed what we thought a family dynamic was. what our roles in the family were going to be. And that part of that too was thankfully one of the pastors, Ralph Wallace, he's passed now. That was part of his like counseling before we got married, and he even walked us through that. And he said, he told my husband, yes, whenever I was married, because his wife had passed. When I was married to my wife, I was 100% the income. I worked and brought the income in. She stayed home and she watched the kids and she was the homemaker. That was her job. Her job was being the homemaker. Um, and he was the income. And that was a perfectly fine dynamic. Unfortunately, the world that we live in now, it really does take two incomes to make enough money to be able to, enjoy and have the things that we all need. Unless your husband is going to be working 2 or 3 jobs, and therefore you're never going to see him. So if you want to have that equal balance, both people really need to work. Uh, Luckily, I'm in a job where I teach, and so I'm off at the same time my kids are off, and things like that. So that's another reason I went into being an educator. But we sat down and said, okay, if we're both working, because like Peyton was not, when we first got married, he was helping some, but not a whole bunch. And I was working, a job and going to college. He was working a job going to college. So our house was like a mess. And I was like, this is awful. I do not want to have a messy house. I'm so unhappy. And so we sat down and we said, okay, we made a list of all the chores that need to be done. And we said, okay, are you willing to do? And what am I willing to do? And then let's try to make sure that we are even with that, because we both are working and bringing in, an income to the family. And so we went through there, and I was like, I really don't like doing dishes. So he's like, okay, I'll do the dishes. Well, he doesn't really like doing laundry, so I do the laundry. And then from there we just kind of went down and did what needed to be done. And so we really split it pretty 50-50 for the most part. He has gone a lot with his work, so a lot of times if he's gone for a week working, obviously I can't let the dishes sit there for a week and not be done, so I have to help him pick up that responsibility. But he does just as much around the house as I do, and even with the kids, he does so much with the kids. More than his mom was very impressed because his dad never, I don't think, ever changed a diaper. I'm pretty sure my dad never changed a diaper, and my husband has probably changed just as many, if not more, diapers than I have. So that goes back to when you're getting married, what are your expectations for your marriage? What are you expecting of your spouse? And you have to have all of those things determined before you get married, because you can't get married and just 2 different lives come together and expect it to work out. You have to figure out, what are your expectations? I know, like when Peyton and I first got married, like one of my pet peeves for him is like he had so many weird socks, and he would just throw all of his socks in a drawer and grab 2 random socks. He would literally grab like a short sock and a tall sock and wear them together. I'm like, why? That is so weird. And it was a pet peeve. It bothered me. And he's like, because I don't care. I wear jeans. No one sees the socks. He's like, if you want me to wear matching socks, pair them up. And so I was like, okay, I'll pair them up for you. But he doesn't care. But it was just a pet peeve of mine. So we worked through that. I do the laundry and make sure it's put up, and that he has matching socks. That way I'm not annoyed by his unmatching socks. But you have to make those decisions of what you want your family dynamic to be and what you're going to expect from your spouse before you get married. And you can't do that after you got married and then decide, oh, I've got married. We have totally 2 different ideas of what a marriage is. It's probably not going to work. You need to work through those and talk about those before you get married. That way you're on the same playing field and you know what each person expects in the relationship. You shouldn't just get married willy-nilly. You need to make sure that you're compatible and that you have the same goals for the long term. You need to make sure that if that God is in your marriage and that both people believe that is true. If you marry someone that doesn't believe in God, the chances of your marriage working are probably not very good because they're not going to hold the same values that you do, and they're not, they're either going, and more times than not, they're going to eventually get you to not go to church and make you step away from God because that's the easier road. Being a believer and believing in God and going to church is not easy. It's hard, and there are so many worldly things that try to push you away from that. The devil is really good at his job of trying to keep you out of church and trying to keep you away from God. He doesn't want you to do those things. And, God works just as hard to try to get you to do them. But unfortunately, it's easier to choose to sleep in instead of going to church. It's easier to, it's easier to not read your Bible and sit and watch TV. Being a Christian is a hard job, and it's a lot of work. So I really am glad, Eli, you stayed on. You really gave me some inspiration. Sock color, really. No, they're not the same. They're not even. They're like he wears white socks, but yeah, as long as. So maybe it's a man thing. Maybe it's just a man thing that it don't matter what socks you wear. I don't know. I've let that one go. It just was a pet peeve of mine because he would wear a short sock and a long sock, and I don't know. I just thought it was weird. And that was back before the unmatching socks was popular. Now it's like a norm to wear two different socks. I would never do that. That's weird, really weird. I don't think you should. I think you should have matching socks. I don't know. I just think that's lazy. I don't know. But I guess it's his body. He can wear whatever he wants. But I just make sure when I do laundry, I pair his socks up so he doesn't have to worry about hunting for unmatching socks. And then if I can't find a match, I throw it away because the dryer eats your socks. But yeah, little things like that. I mean, I would say probably our first 3 to 6 months of living together, we fought like cats and dogs because I bugged him with little things I did. He bugged me with little things like that. I don't know. I don't know if we really ever had a fight about the socks. I'm pretty sure I was disapproving because he would wear them out in public with shorts on and have a long sock and a short sock. And I'm like, what are you doing? Oh my goodness. And he's like, doesn't matter. So, but it just was a pet peeve. It wasn't a big deal. We got over it, right? Now I just make sure he has matching socks. But I mean, I did things that bugged him too. Everybody does things that bug their spouse. You just got to figure out what to fight for and what to let go. That's part of being married and part of life. And you gotta fight for each other. And I've seen people get divorced over a lot less than socks. So that means they weren't founded and sturdy in their relationship before they got married. And I definitely don't think if you get married within a couple of months of dating that person, I don't know. I've seen people make it and have it last, but I just don't see how you can know a person in a couple of months and know their values and everything, because you can fake it and you can, not be your real true self for a little bit. All right. Your goat is stuck. So this has been the best start of your day and months. God bless. Well, thank you, Eli. I will keep doing it. And I think I'm actually going to get off as well, guys, because I've been on for almost 2 hours. It's almost 10 o'clock. I need to check on Carly. She's been in her room for a little bit. And Charlie is over here. He's been so good this morning, so I probably need to get them around and figure out what we're going to do today. I know we have a little TNT festival that we may go to. They're going to have a petting zoo. And anywho, I'm glad you guys came in. Thank y'all for watching me. It really does uplift me when y'all come in and and give me such kind comments and support. So I really do appreciate it. Um, so Grant says my unboxing video will be posted at 11:15 tomorrow. I hope it sends some people your way. Well, thank you very much, Grant. I do appreciate it. And I will try to do some better tags, and I've got to figure out how to set up live streams a little bit better. I was running late this morning too. That was part of it. I didn't get up till 7:30 and had to rush around. But I need to work on that and make better thumbnails and maybe promote myself out. I may mess around with that and do some private live streams and see about how to do the, like, where it's like watch Branscum Farm in 30 minutes and then do that. If I can't figure it out, I may send you a message if that's okay. Or somebody. I know a couple of different people that live stream and they do it. I just have never had it work. When I try to do, like, I'll be live in 30 minutes. Like, when 30 minutes runs around, it, like, doesn't go live for some reason. But I don't use any fancy software. I just go through the YouTube and go through webcam and go, because my computer is not strong enough to do OBS. I need to mess around with Stream, like, it's like Streamlabs, or I don't know, but that actually worked. I did one through that, so like, I may try with that, and I might do like a screen somehow that says, like, so I don't know. I'll have to mess around with it. But yeah, I have your email. I'll just send you a message if I can't figure it out. And then maybe we could do like a voice chat or something and figure it out. I think part of it is just my computer is too old to do some of that stuff. I need to just go and buy a webcam, and that way I can do it on my bigger desktop computer. And I know it can run OBS, so maybe that would work. I don't know. But I really like doing live streams on my laptop because I can, like, sit anywhere in the house. And I have the kids right here in the living room, and I can watch them. And if I'm in the computer room, I don't really have good access to watch the kids, if that makes sense. So I like doing it on my laptop a little better. But anywho, I'm glad that you enjoyed your thing, and thank you guys. Thank you for sending some people my way. Hopefully that'll work out, and I will try to be a little bit more regular. I've had people tell me that, and so maybe that'll be my goal for September, is to be more regular, work on thumbnails and tags. I think that is an easy goal to maybe achieve. So, anywho, it is almost 10 o'clock, so I better get off of here, make sure the kids are taken care of. So thank you guys for watching, and thank you for staying with me. I hope y'all have a blessed day, and I will see you next Saturday at 8 a.m.